as I've been saying, what I did is kind of went through sample test questions for the MCAs and tried to find different types of questions. And so I believe we're gonna be done with our geometry kind of by Friday. And so then Monday, you'll probably do a practice quiz. Tuesday will be your quiz, just so you are aware. That's my plan right now. So right here, what we're doing is talking about transversals and the different angles that are formed. And this is something we spent a lot of time with during class, but I just wanted to remind you of this. So anytime we have two lines cut by a transversal, remember we made those 8 angles, which you can number in any way. And those 8 angles made special pairs of angles that we learned about. Does everybody remember corresponding angles were in the same position? So like 1 and 5 were congruent, and then these two would be congruent because they're in the same position. This one and this one would be, and then this one and that one would be. So it's the ones that are in the same position for that. Then we had alternate interior, and alternate meant opposite sides of your transversal, and interior meant that it had to be inside those 2 lines. So it would be like 4 and 5, or this one and that one. Those are opposite sides and they're inside. Alternate exterior, you'd have your 2 lines. Here's your transversal. They're alternate again, which means they're on opposite sides of this, and they're exterior of those 2 lines. And then the last one was consecutive interior. Again, they're inside. And with consecutive interior, it's like 4 and 6 or 3 and 5. And that is, they're both inside, but they're on the same side of the transversal. And then what we did, here's just another example of this. 1 and 5 are corresponding, 2 and 6 are, 3 and 7, 4 and 8. Alternate interior would be like 3 and 6 or 4 and 5. Alternate exterior 1 and 8 or 2 and 7. And consecutive interior would be 3 and 5 or 4 and 6. Then we learned rules about these, which you're going to have to know for the test. And 1 and 5 are corresponding, and we learned that corresponding angles are congruent. Do you remember how 3 of them were congruent and 1 of them wasn't? Do you remember which one wasn't congruent? Consecutive interior. Very good, because that's been a while. Alternate interior are also congruent. Alternate exterior are congruent. And then, like we just said, the one that is not congruent is the consecutive interior, and they are supplementary or add up to 1/8. Okay, everybody kind of remember that? Okay, so we're going to have a few questions on that today. And this one here is a question that I found somewhere from a prior MCA test that looks like this. What kind of angles are those? Corresponding. And what did we learn about corresponding? They are equal or add up to 1/8. They're equal. So all we have to do here is say 13x minus 15 equals 22x plus 9. And in this one, that's all they want. You don't even have to solve it for x. So our answer is just this. Normally it's not that easy. And then I just summarize those rules real quick, so make sure you know these when you get to the MCA test. Okay? Now if I look at this one, they want to know which one of these is a true statement. So I'm gonna give you a second to look at that. Can anyone tell which one is true? Do you guys agree G is true? G is 8 and 2 are equal. Here's 8, here's 2. What kind are those? Alternate interior. And aren't those equal? Okay, everybody get that? Then if I look at this one, try to ignore this line, okay? Can you guys tell if you're not looking at this line at all? What kind is that and that? They're consecutive interior. It's like, you know, you would always, like, say you got on the test and you're like, I can't really tell what kind those are. Just rewrite it with the two that you're given, like this. And it looks like the way they have it that these two are equal, but I think what they're saying here is like, this angle is 13x plus 12, that angle is 2x plus 3, okay? Are those two equal, or do they add up to 180? Add up to 180. So what we would have to do then is we'd say 13x plus 12 plus 2x plus 3 is going to equal 180, okay? Now, 13x plus 2x is 15x. 12 plus 3 is 15, and that equals 180, and then we're just going to solve that. So I'm going to subtract 15, and I get 15x equals 165. And remember on this, we still can't use a calculator, okay? So you guys would have to actually do division, like you'd have to go, at least I don't think they let you use a calculator here. Could you guys all do long division at this point? Like 15 goes into 16 once, right? 1 times 15 is 15. Then you subtract. 16 minus 15 is 1. And then do you remember how you carry down the 5? And then wouldn't this be 1 also? And then you'd be done, so it's 11, okay? So like I said, I don't know if that is, if they'd let you use a calculator on that. But this would be our answer. Okay, now let's go to this page. This first one here is pretty easy, right? What would our answer be? 122, because what kind of angles are they? They're alternate exterior. Very good. Very good. Okay, now if we look at our next one here, what kind are those two? Consecutive interior. So we add them together and we set them equal to 180 because consecutive interior angles equal 180. Right? Now, x plus x is 2x minus 42 equals 180. Then I'm going to add 42. And I get 2x equals 222. Divide by 2. And x is 111. Okay? And that's all they wanted us to do in this one is find what x is. Now, we did a little bit of trinomial factoring back in chapter 7. So I'm going to show you this problem and then we'll talk a little bit about trinomial factoring, okay? What kind of angles are those two? alternate interior, so they are equal. Very good. So this angle is going to equal that one. So I'm going to go x squared plus 15 equals 8x minus 1. Okay? Now, how you know that you have to factor is anytime you have an x squared, an x, and some number. Okay? And when you try to factor that, you have to bring everything to the left side. So I have my x squared here. When I bring that 8x over to the other side, does it make sense that you would change the sign of it to negative 8x? Now, that plus 15 is still on the left, but I also want to bring this negative 1 over to the left side. And when you bring a negative over to the left and change sides, it's going to change the sign. Okay? Now, what I would do is combine these two. So I'd have x squared minus 8x plus 16 equals 0. Now, when we did these back in chapter 8, we did not do one where the middle sign was negative and this sign is positive, okay? And the reason that I kind of avoided that situation is we'll set it up first. Do you guys remember you put the x squared here, you put the positive 16 here and here, okay? And then you put the negative 8 here, okay? Now, what we want to do is find two factors or two numbers that multiply to give us a positive 16, and when we add them, here I'll grab you the notes, and when we add them, it's going to be a negative 8. And that might be kind of confusing to you. Like, you have to have them multiply to be positive, but when you add them, they're going to be negative. The reason is, and I kind of gave you these 4 factoring rules here, whenever you have this scenario right here, where your middle term is minus and your last term is plus, both of your factors are going to be minus, okay? So when you come down here and you copy down your factors, it's always going to be x minus and x minus, okay, all the time. What that tells me then is when I do this and I find those two factors, they're both going to be negative, okay? And what that would be here then is, do you guys get, if I did negative 4 times negative 4, isn't that a positive 16? And negative 4 plus a negative 4 is negative 8. So that's what it would look like. Now, if you guys remember what we did, we would take the negative 4 and put it with an x here, negative 4 and put it with an x here, and then you would think, what times what gives you x squared? That's x and x. What times x gives me negative 4x? That's negative 4. X times what gives me negative 4x? That's minus 4. So my two factors are the x minus 4s. And that would come down here. And then do you guys remember how you find your answers? If this is minus 4, what would your answer be? Positive 4, okay? And here's the deal. When two answers are the same, you don't write it twice. Your answer would just be x equals 4. So I wanted to go over that just in case you have one on your MCA test where you have to factor and both of them would be negative so that when you add them, it would be a negative, okay? All right, let's look here. And in this one, it says that angle 1 is 4x minus 28, okay? And angle 2 right here is x plus 68. What kind of angles are those two? Corresponding. And we talked about today, corresponding angles are equal. So first I'm gonna just set these equal. I'm gonna go 4x minus 28 equals x plus 68, and I'm gonna solve that, okay? Now I'm gonna bring this x over, so I would subtract x. 4x minus x is 3x minus 28 equals 68. Then I'm gonna add 28. And I'd get 3x equals, this would be 696, divide by 3, and x would be 32. Now notice we're not done yet, because what they want is they want us to find angle 1 and angle 2. So the measure of angle 1 is the 4x minus 28. And you're gonna take that 32 and you're gonna put it in there. And again, you can't use a calculator. So some of you might be able to do that in your heads. If you can't, you would go 32 times 4, this is 8, 128. Then you would subtract 28, and that's easy. 128 minus 28 is 100. So we know angle 1 is 100, so we know it's either A or B. Just thinking like common sense, what should angle 2 be? 100. But you could check and make sure it is. So what you could do is say, well, measure of angle 2 is x plus 68. So if I took 32 and put it in there, 32 plus 68 is 100, okay? So that's how we know that what each of these is. So I'm gonna just write this out. 32, 4 times 32 minus 28, and measured angle 1 is 4, or is 100. So that is our answer. Okay, now, here is one that is checking if you know what to do if you have a ratio like that. Does anyone remember what we put with each of those if we had a ratio? Anyone remember that? You put an X with each of them. So this is saying one of our angles is 1 times something, one of our angles is 4 times something, and they're supplementary. What do we know about supplementary angles? They equal 180, okay? So I'm gonna go 1x plus 4 times something would be 4x, has to equal 180 degrees. So if that was 2 and 7, you'd have 2x plus 7x equals 180, okay? 1 plus 4x is 5x. Then we would divide by 5. And again, if you can't do long, you would have to do long division if you can't do that in your head. So, like if you went 5 into 180, 5 goes into 18 3 times, so this would be 15. Subtract 18 minus 15 is 3, bring down the 0. 5 goes into 36 times. Okay, so that's 36. Now, what they ask us for in this one is find the measure of the larger angle, okay? My smaller angle is going to be 1 times x, which is 1 times 36, which is 36. My larger angle is going to be the 4 times x, so it'd be 4 times 36, which would be, if you can't do that in your head, you would actually go 36 times 4, 6 times 4 is 24, so with the 4, carry the 2. 4 times 3 is 12, plus 2 is 14. Okay, so that would be 144. That is your large angle. And you might be thinking, like, why did she find the smaller angle? It's just nice, especially if you're doing your MCA test, to make sure at the end that these two add up to 180. Because remember, when you take the test, some days you only have to do like 15 to 18 questions. So you definitely have that time to check your answers and stuff. Now it says two complementary angles are in the ratio 5 to 4. Okay, so what I would have to do here is put x with 5 and then add it to x with 4, and this time they're complementary, so what would I do? It would equal 90. Now 5x plus 4x is 9x equals 90. Divide by 9, and x is 10. Okay, now this time they want the smaller angle, so our smaller angle would be the one that's 4 times x, so it'd be 4 times 10, which is 40. And our larger angle would be the one that's 5 times x, or 5 times 10, which is 50. So what we wanted is the smaller angle, so our answer would be 40. Okay. All right, now let's go here and we'll do a couple of these. So if you guys look at that first diagram there, if this is a right angle, do you guys remember how this would also be a right angle? So wouldn't x plus 67 equal 90? Everybody get that? So we could just go 90 minus 67, which is 23, and that would be our answer. Okay. Anyone know what we would do in this one? What would I do with the 4x minus 4 and the 2x plus 40? Yep, add them together and set them equal to 90, because together they form that 90-degree angle. So I'm going to go 4x minus 4 plus 2x plus 40 equals 90. Now 4x plus 2x is 6x. Negative 4 plus 40 is 36, and that equals 90. Then I'm going to subtract 36, and I get 6x equals 90 minus 36 is going to be 54. Divide by 6, and x is 9. Now you always want to look at, is that what we wanted to find? And it's not. We wanted to find the measure of angle ABD, okay? So the measure of angle ABD is this angle right here. It's 4x minus 4, and then if I take this 9 and put it in there, 4 times 9 minus 4 is 36 minus 4, which is 32. Okay. Now you could put that 9 back in here too. You could say 2 times 9 plus 40 would be 18 plus 40, which is 58. And then just make sure those two add up to 90. Okay? All right, we have 2 more. If I look at this one, does anyone want to guess how we could solve this? What do you think all of those added together should add up to? 360, okay? So I'm gonna add the x's together first. So I'm gonna go x plus x plus x plus 87 plus 87 plus 87. And like you guys said, that equals 360, okay? 1x plus 1x plus 1x is 3x. 87 plus 87 plus 87, if you wanted to, you could do that by hand. Like I said, I don't know on some, like if they would let you use a calculator or not. So this would be 18,261, I believe, okay? So that would be 261 equals 360. Then I'm gonna subtract 261, and I get 3x equals, when I subtract this, I'd get 99, divide by 3, and that would be 33. Okay, now we're gonna do one more. When you look at this one, does anyone see something I could do that would help me solve it? Yes. Do you guys get if this is 5x, this is 5x? I'm not sure why my pen is weird today. So yes, put it up where it's a vertical angle, and now we have a straight line, and we have x plus 6, 5x, and 3x plus 3, all making up that straight line. And what do we know about a straight line? Add up to 180. So we can say x plus 6 plus 5x plus 3x plus 3 is going to equal 180. Now, 1x plus 5x is 6x, plus 3x is 9x. 6 plus 3 is 9. Then we would subtract 9, and 9x would give me 171. Divide by 9. And if you divided that out, if you went 9 into 171, 9 goes into 17 one time. When I subtract 9, I'm going to get 8. Bring this 1 down. 9 goes into 81 19 times. So x would be 19, and is that what they wanted us to solve for? It is. So that is our answer. Okay? So I am going to give you guys a homework sheet, and today we are going to do numbers 1 through 12. So we're going to do homework day 6, numbers 1 through 12.